Hello YouTube, it's Philip here, and today I will be showing you a deck primer for my Towel Red Center deck. This is one of the strongest decks and possibly considered the best deck in the format with the release of Interlude Diva. In this video, we will go over a basic deck skeleton and some of the combos of the deck.
さあ君とディーバラさあここでディーバラ
So let's start with the Lyric deck. Your center Lyric is going to be Towel, so you will have the basic lineups of levels 0, 1, and 2 Towel. Your level 3 will be Towel Trey, the Awakened one. Let's look at her abilities real quick. First, she has an action ability, which can be used once per turn to discard 2 red cards from your hand to draw 2 cards. This is an extremely handy ability, as it will allow you to dig through your deck for any tool that you need. Her second ability is an Enter ability, which allows you to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and add any number of red cards from among them to your hand. As you will see later, the deck is going to be entirely red, so when she enters the field, you will always be able to add 3 cards from your deck to your hand onto the assist lyrics. First is the Umuru and Ott, level 0s. Starting with our first level 1, we will play Umuru Draw. She has the Enter ability to draw 2. Simple but effective, it will allow us to get to the key pieces in our deck faster. Our level 1 Ott will be Ott Charge. She has the Enter ability to enter charge 2. Another very simple ability which will allow us to prepare our resources for later in the game. This will allow us to pay any enter costs a lot more efficiently. On to the level 2s. Our level 2 Umuru will be Umuru Down. Umuru Down has a glow cost of 1 colorless enter. She has a use timing of both main and attack phase, so we will be using her as a way to disrupt the opponent's plays. Her first enter ability is to target one of the opponent's Signy and down it. Her second ability will also down another of the opponent's Signy as long as we pay 1 colorless and 1 blue enter. Our level 2 Ott will be Ott Discovery. She has a glow cost of 2 colorless enter. Similar to Umuru Down, we will be using her to disrupt the opponent's plays. Her first enter ability nullifies the next time we would take damage for the turn. This can be useful for stopping attack in an open Signy zone or taking damage for the game. Her second enter ability states that if we pay the cost of putting 3 Signy with different classes from our enter zone to the trash, we can target a Signy on our opponent's field with power 10,000 or more and banish it. This is great for the late game and getting rid of the opponent's endgame Signy, most likely their level 3s. Now for the last parts of the Lyric deck, the pieces. First, we will be playing Chime of the Blessed Key. With 0 colorless enter for cost, it has a very simple but powerful effect. Draw 3 cards and discard 2. As you can notice from the other cards in the Lyric deck, it is all about consistency. Drawing a lot of cards and filtering out the ones you don't want will allow you to get to your combo pieces and want to Signy a lot quicker. Our second piece is going to be Ancient Echo. It costs 2 colorless enter to use. Its effects are to vanish an opponent's Signy with power 10,000 or less, draw 2 cards, and give all Signy on our field power plus 3,000 for turn. This will allow for quick removal, powering up our field, as well as replenishing our hand if it is too low during the late stages of the game. If the Lyric deck is the support part, then your main deck is the main damage dealer. But first, we will need to look at some more support cards. Let's start with the level 1 Signy cards. Starting off, we play 4 copies of Servant Sharp. This is your basic card with the guard ability. Every deck needs to be able to guard against the opponent's Lyric attack, so I would consider this a staple to every single Wheatcross deck in existence. She also has the constant ability of multi-enter, which means she can be used to pay for the cost of enter of any color. She will also be a part of our lineup of cards with the Life Burst ability. Her Life Burst ability allows us to add any single Signy in our trash to our hand. Next we have 4 copies of Bronze Natural Crystal. She is a red and blue multicolored Signy with an ability that is very similar to Servant Sharp's multi-enter ability. However, bronze will only count as a red or blue enter when used to pay for the cost of an ability. This is an important ability as bronze will be used most often to pay for the cost of Umaru Down's enter ability should you need it. Next we play 4 copies of Byleth, Crimson Evo. She is a red Signy with an enter ability where if we pay 1 red and 1 colorless enter, we can banish a target Signy on the opponent's field whose power is less than hers. This ability will likely be used in the early game, if at all, to open holes in the opponent's field for a free attack on the opponent's life cloth. However, since Byleth's power is only 2000, we will probably not be using this ability too often. More often than not, you will be looking to use Byleth for her Life Burst ability. Her Life Burst states that if we can pay 1 red and 1 colorless enter. If we do, we can vanish an opponent's Signy on the field with power of 12,000 or less. Again, this is a powerful removal ability as it will vanish most Signy, including most level 3 Signy. Now we come to the last of our level 1 Signy lineup, which is 4 copies of Aeris, Crimson Angel. She is a red Signy with an auto ability of giving one of our red Signy on the field power plus 2000 for the turn whenever she attacks. This is ideal for giving some of our Signy that last extra power to get over an opponent's Signy. Aeris also has a Life Burst ability, which will allow us to draw a card and enter charge 1. Enter charge means to put the top card of the deck into the enter zone. Moving on to the level 2 Signy lineup, first we have 4 copies of Sylvana, Natural Crystal. She is a multicolored red and blue Signy which is the same as Bronze Natural Crystal. She will serve the same purpose as Bronze and mainly be used to pay for a blue enter cost should we need to. Rounding out the level 2 lineup, we have 4 copies of Hera, Crimson Evo. She is a red Signy with an auto ability to vanish one of our opponent's Signy with power 5000 or less if we pay a cost of 1 red enter when she attacks. This ability is also ideal for opening holes in the opponent's Signy zone during the early game as 5000 power will cover most level 1 Signy. This will allow us to get quick damage into the opponent's life cloth. Now we come to the big finishers of the deck, the level 3 Signy lineup. First we have 4 copies of Tobiel, Full Armed. She is a red Signy with 12,000 power with 2 abilities. Her first ability is an enter ability, which has a cost of discarding 2 cards from your hand in order to draw 2 cards from your deck. This is useful for trying to dig into your deck for any Signy or spells you may need. The second ability is an auto ability, which will give one of our other Signy power plus 5000 until the end of the turn whenever Tobiel attacks. This will allow even our lower power Signy to vanish opponent's Signy in battle. Tobiel also has a Life Burst ability, which will allow us to either draw a card or to target one of the opponent's Signy in the up position and vanish it. This is a very flexible Life Burst as it allows us to choose the appropriate effect to meet the situation. Next we have 4 copies of Shub Nagura, Crimson Evo Queen. She is a red Signy, first with the team icon of Ancient Surprise, which means she can only be played if all of the lyrics on our field belong to the team Ancient Surprise. She has an enter ability, where if we pay the cost of 3 red enter, she will gain the Double Crush ability until the end of the turn. The Double Crush ability means that when she would deal damage to the opponent, she will crush 2 of the opponent's life cloth instead of 1. An important ruling here is that she crushes 2 life cloth at once, not 1 at a time, which means that if the opponent had only 1 life cloth left, she will still only crush the 1 life cloth and that will conclude her attack. It will not deal the final damage to the opponent simultaneously. This ability is incredibly useful for making a hard push as it will allow us to basically clear 1/3 of the opponent's life cloth. Her last ability is an auto ability which will trigger when she attacks. If all the Signy on our field are of the red color, we can pay the cost of 2 red enter. And if we do, we can banish an opponent's Signy with power of 12,000 or less. This is incredibly strong as it means we can basically banish almost any Signy. Finally, we have 4 copies of Mars, Crimson Angel Queen. She is a red Signy with a power of 12,000. Her first ability is an enter ability where if we pay the cost of discarding 3 red cards from our hand, she will gain the assassin ability. The assassin ability allows Mars to deal damage to the opponent instead of battling the Signy in front of it in battle. This is incredibly useful for getting around any higher power Signy or just dealing damage to the opponent, possibly even the last damage to the opponent while they have no life cloth. Her second ability is an auto ability which states that when she banishes an opponent's Signy in battle, we can put that card from the opponent's enter zone to the opponent's trash if it does not share a color with the opponent's center Lureg. This is incredibly useful for denying the opponent the ability to have enter for the following turn and therefore limiting the plays that they can perform. Finally, to round out our deck, we have our spells. The only spell in our deck will be 4 copies of Battle Beat. It costs 2 red enter and 2 colorless enter to cast. It is a red spell that will vanish one of the opponent's Signy on the field with power of 13,000 or less. This basically will be able to vanish most Signy, but the cost is pretty high. More than likely, this spell is also used only for its Life Burst ability, which is the same effect. Finally, let's get into some basic combos. There are 3 kinds of combos that I will display: the early game, mid game, and late game combos. Starting with the early game combo, first let's look at the ideal mulligan. In your first hand, ideally you should have 1 copy of Bronze, Eris, Hera, Servant Sharp, and Tobio. The most important part of this hand is having 2 level 1 Signy so that your field isn't open completely. Bronze will serve as a free body that can be vanished early on to fuel your enter zone. Eris isn't ideal to play without her ability, but because we want Byleth to be in our Life Cloth zone instead of our hand, Eris is the next best choice to put down on turn 1. Another early game combo will come from the Turbo setup. So assuming we have the same hand and went first, we will want to normal glow our Lureg, and then assist glow our Umaru. Umaru will slightly offset the disadvantage of going first by drawing us a few more cards from our deck and giving us options to put onto our field. This will allow us to maintain a decent hand size. Play any 2 level 1 Signy as long as you do not play Servant Sharp onto the field. So here we will play Bronze and Eris onto the field. Now in the mid game, we will be looking for a setup kind of like this. So this is our field, and this is our hand. Ideally, we have a copy of Hera in our hand, along with a copy of Sylvana and Eris. Hopefully we can dig for our late game pieces now, which include both Shup Nagura and Mars. So you can do this with either the Chime of the Blessed Key piece or Ancient Echo if you want. Ideally, you can also assist glow into Ott Charge here in order to gain 2 enter from the top of our deck. This enter can be used to pay for the cost of Hera's ability. So we will first play Sylvana. She is only a 10,000 power body, so it's nothing special about her. We can play Eris, and then we can play Hera. Let's go ahead and activate our piece here, Chime of the Blessed Key, which will allow us to draw 3 and discard 2. So we've got one of our endgame pieces here, Mars, Crimson Angel Princess. So let's go ahead and discard Eris and the Hera, I guess. Now we look at the late game setup, which will be something similar to this. So this is our field, and this is our hand. Hopefully you assist Gloat into Ott Discovery during the opponent's turn. With a limit of 7, the ideal field setup will be Eris, Shub Nagura, and activate her on play ability, which costs 3 red enter, to give her the double crush ability, and play Mars. She has on play ability, discard 3 red cards from your hand to gain the assassin ability. Now, after activating the enter abilities of Shub Nagura and Mars, you can either use Shub Nagura to clear the last Signy zone of the opponent's field, or you can use the piece Ancient Echo. One trick here is that when attacking with Shub Nagura, if you use her ability to vanish the opponent's Signy in front of her, this will result in a replay, which changes her attack from a battle with the opponent's Signy to an attack on their life cloth. If she has the double crush ability, she will deal great damage to the opponent. This should also be enough damage to ideally win the game if the opponent doesn't have a response during the defense step. And that's the deck profile. The Tao Center deck is one of the strongest decks to arrive with the booster pack of Interlude Diva, and with good reason. The deck has so much draw and filter power that it can get to any Signy that it wants and has an answer for almost any situation. I hope you enjoyed my deck profile, and if you did, please like, subscribe, and comment below. What were your results in using the Tao Center deck? I'll see you in the next one.